Spirit beings, invisible persons. I hope you're not bored with me sharing the things that I've learned. I have observed for a long time the effects of people who are studying the afterlife, the spirit realm, and spirit beings. Yes, I have been focused on studying our afterlife, our human afterlife, the invisible spirit realm, a parallel realm, not anywhere you can visit in the visible cosmos or universe. The afterlife, the spirit realm, and the spirit beings. 5 types of spirit beings. Think along with me. This is not complicated. It's simplistic. There is a supreme spirit being, and the highest attributes of that spirit being are womb and mercy. Racham and Rachem. Those are 2 Hebrew words. The supreme spirit being, who is also referred to as a bajillion other names, the life giver, the creator, the God of heaven and earth, the provider, the protector, Yahweh, which means the one who supremely exists, Elohim, which means strong spirit or strongest spirit, El Elyon. Okay, so there is the supreme spirit, from whom everything has originated, and from whom also comes mercy, forgiveness, and what they call grace to entities that don't deserve grace. So the Supreme Spirit is womb and mercy, originating place and merciful essence. Now, the female human being, the woman form, is a manifestation of womb and mercy. This is the first spiritual teaching for all human beings. Everyone in the family and in the friend group is called to meditate on the fact that the woman form is womb and mercy and many other things. That's why I do the Grandpa Honesty Guy teaching called Befriend the Women First. And everyone, the boys and girls, and the men and women, all need to be trained to befriend and care for the woman form first. Because we grow up with people who aren't training us on things. They're teaching us how to be successful at business, or do this, or do that, etc., but they have often ignored the concept of human principles and also the afterlife and the spirit realm and the spirit beings. So number 1, Supreme Spirit. Number 2, spirit beings designed as helper spirits. These are disembodied spirit beings. These are spirit beings who do not ordinarily have a physical thumpity-thump, heartbeat, breathing form. They don't have an ordinary body form. They can masquerade or appear in human body form, but they are not actually of a human body form. These helper spirit beings are of a higher intellect than humans now in this season, because those helper spirits do not have the same time and space continuum reality that human beings have. So, number one, supreme spirit. Number two, helper spirits. Now, from the stock of helper spirits, which is said to be an uncountable number of helper spirits whose purpose and job is to help, assist, and serve with the creation, the created entities of the Supreme Spirit. So, if Supreme Spirit made helper spirits, those helper spirits potentially are helping one another, because they are part of the creation of the Supreme Spirit. And if Supreme Spirit makes rock and air and water, then the helper spirits are helping with rock and air and water. And if Creator Spirit makes living entities, plants, and animals, living beings, even insects. If Creator Spirit makes various living things, the helper spirits are helping with the living things. Picture spirit beings helping out with little squirrel babies in the woods when there's no other beings around. Picture the helper spirits helping with the little squirrel babies and helping with the pollination of plants, utilizing bees and other insects and whatever, maybe some kind of special interventions by the spirit beings. So, Supreme Spirit and helper spirits. Now, there's free choice. And there's free choice for the helper spirits to turn away from or to stop helping Supreme Spirit. And this is something that comes to pass. So there are helper spirits who have turned from helping to actually troubling or distressing or bringing death and evil upon the creation of Supreme Spirit. So now you've got helper spirits and you have death-oriented spirits, negativity spirits, deception spirits, and spirits who like to or enjoy seeing God's creation destroyed or troubled or suffering. So you've got spirits who help and spirits who bring suffering. So now you have Supreme Spirit, an uncountable number of helper spirits, and then some other undiscerned number of spirits who bring distress and death and problems and hatred and slander and sickness and hurt and disease. And even spirits who train humans We haven't gotten to humans yet. Spirits who train humans how to make torture and do defiled, hurtful things and do extremely ugly or defiled things, like a human being stabbing all the children, the babies that have come forth from that human being, and causing them to die with a piece of steel, a knife. That is a tragic and super depraved thing that is not just ordinary human behavior. That's a picture of some spirits who cause distress, perhaps. Depending upon what theories or concepts you accept as true. So then, you have human beings who are a spirit presence in a physical body, in one of these. And the story is told that in the original form of the humans, there was no death. There was human form lasting forever and to ages beyond our current understanding. The original form and design of humans was to actually be friends with God, literally a family of a different type. Family of a different type to the disembodied spirit beings without any physical body. So the humans are different than the helper spirits and the spirits who became spirits who bring suffering and distress. But now we are told that there was a moment when a spirit who deceives and brings suffering enticed the humans to do a thing that actually then brought trouble in upon them, and they lost their innocence. They had formerly been those who were completely innocent of death, suffering, evil, anger, slander, and adversarial attitudes and hurtfulness towards other humans. So the human beings were made, and they lost their innocence. And for a long period of time, there was no death of the physical human body. In most of the humans, there was no natural death. Human beings last for a long time unless they were killed by another human being. So for a long period of time, it is said and stated that the human body and the invisible human spirit were not broken apart or separated for a considerably long time. Hundreds of years. Sounds like a fairy tale, but it is a presentation that should be considered. So then there was a declaration by the Supreme Spirit saying, since humans are now mortal and kind of messed up, I will not let them live so long. I will put a cap on their lifespan of 120 years. So now, there are also disembodied spirits of human beings, spirits of people who once lived, but their soul spirit reality is still continuing and waiting for a peculiar shift, a paradigm shift that's referred to as the great and terrible day, when all things are known and all things will be evaluated, including our human thoughts will be evaluated. And the way that we have handled incoming information that gives us understanding and insight, how we handled available information, is going to be partly a part of our evaluation on the great and terrible day. But, so now you've got Supreme Spirit, you've got helper spirits, and then helper spirits somehow split up into two groups of helpers, and then also, and those helper spirits have different forms and purposes and jobs, and it's a very complex hierarchy of spirit beings of high intellect who essentially are smarter than humans. And some of those spirits have also been set into this adversarial, confusing and destroying type of spirit being. Spirit beings who hurt God's creation. So you've got Supreme Spirit, you've got helper spirits, you've got deceiver spirits, and you've got spirits that are in living humans, and then you've got spirits of formerly living humans that are now disembodied and waiting for something to happen. That's 5 kinds of spirits: Supreme Spirit, helper spirits, deceiver or troubler spirits, human spirits in a body that's living, and human spirits that have left the living body to wait for something. That's a basic thing that I've learned. And there's a thing called the Apostles' Teaching. On Shavuot, which is also called the Day of Pentecost, there was, at 9 o'clock in the morning, a thing called the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. All of the 12 tribes of Israel had come into Jerusalem for this beautiful festival. It's just a big party time that all Israelite peoples are called to return to Jerusalem for this party time. And during this party time, Yeshua Adonai, who had returned to the spirit realm, poured out the peculiar and amazing Comforter Spirit, and all of these people from different tribes observed this supernatural thing that happened. This is literally the rejoining of the tribes of Israel in a secret and supernatural way, and they were taught by the apostles, the sent ones of Moshiach, to now gather together in little intimate clumps of private meetings connected with the Holy Spirit, Ruach HaKodesh, that was poured out on Pentecost, and follow the new teachings of Messiah Yeshua that were taught specifically to the apostles while he was in his resurrection form and appearing to them across 40 days. Now, many of the things that he taught the apostles had been set aside and even hidden and erroneously or negatively forgotten about by many, many lineages of what they call the church after the time of Constantine, who was a violent and greedy politician who just decided to try to team up with the Christians to get some juju to kill people to become the supreme emperor. So he felt that he got some power from the Christianity people to go and kill people in order to become the supreme emperor of the Roman Empire, which does not fit with the teachings of Yeshua. And after he did that, he actually made some comforts and some easements of the heavy restrictions on the Christianity people. But I'm telling you people, for the first 300 years, the private gatherings of fun, cheerful, ecstatic, intimate friends who looked out for one another's problems, for 300 years, the new nation that is against the dark and evil and ugly spirits, not against peoples, not at all, but truly loving people with a greater effectiveness. The little gatherings of communion friends, ecclesia, chavurot, the friend groups, intimate with Yeshua and with the Supreme Spirit, became the new secret underground nation who is totally against the dark powers that rule the world. And for you and I to get our friends together in an honesty meal that repeats and becomes a cheerful, discerning, powerfully discerning group of friends who is being guided by the best and most kind spirit, that is the concept of true ecclesia. The word ecclesia means human beings who are called out of the ordinary world into an intimate gathering of friends who are set apart or separate from the ordinary world and peoples. And there is a sharp division. And they do not have their secret meetings with visitors and learners. They have open public meetings, often and usually in very public places like marketplaces and flea markets and down by the river and by the seaside and in vacation places and in celebration gatherings like rock and roll band festival parking lots and parades and large public celebrations, including the Jewish ones. But those people had public meetings where they would sing, they would heal people, they would give truth discernments to help people with their lives, and they would teach about this visitation of the now invisible friend. So basically, that's the stuff. But the first responsibility is understanding the apostles' teaching, which is also referred to as the New Covenant teachings of Christ, or the way of life teachings of Christ, or the fascinating points of the gospel or the good news for people that we must be obedient to. There are many terms for this one set of teachings. Many terms. But the declaration is that we should be repetitively teaching this set of teachings. And I'm telling you people, some of the very heavy, important principles of these teachings have literally been flushed down the toilet. If our battle is against spirit beings, and if Yeshua says, hey, there's a certain thing that men can do to keep the negative spirit beings at bay, and there are certain things that female human beings can do to keep these negative spirit beings at bay, away from our families and our friends. And if we are actually not doing these little touches of behavior, there is actually a license for sneaky spirits to come in that many people don't even know are affecting the whole life project. This is one of my heartfelt griefs for the peoples of Christianity, churchianity that I grew up in America. So that's my teaching on, my basics teaching on spirits. And you can edit that down into a quick, brief 3-minute teaching if you want, and make sure to share with your kids. Yippee!